Agent today ordered held without bond in a U.S. jail. 29-year-old Maria Butina appeared in a D.C. federal courtroom. By the way, she's charged with trading sex for political influence as a spy for Russia. The FBI claiming that she was in the United States on a student visa for 2 years, tried to infiltrate groups such as the National Rifle Association. Tonight, John Solomon, opinion contributor for The Hill, one of the country's very best journalists, and always a delight to have you with us, John.
Thanks,
let's start with Maria Butina. This is a fascinating story because for some reason, a lot of people bought the idea that this young woman really did represent gun rights groups in Russia. A little preposterous, but apparently she was convincing.
Yeah, not that convincing. So I'll tell you a little story I never told before. In March of 2015, I observed her at several events, really cozying up to conservatives and making this, I thought, was a pretty weak-handed case that she was this courageous gun rights activist going up against Putin, and there would one day be a Second Amendment in Russia. There's never going to be a Second Amendment in Russia, right? And I became really perplexed by her behavior and her efforts at going up to presidential candidates, congressional candidates. So I started to do some reporting, and I called FBI and U.S. intelligence sources, and very quickly I learned, yeah, we know that she's somebody here as an agent of influence. She's connected to this guy Torsion, and we know what she's trying to do. And I thought, that's really interesting. Are they going to tell the people she's meeting with? And it doesn't appear they ever did. I thought the role of FBI counterintelligence was to prevent contacts from occurring that are not in the interest of the United States. It sounds like they just sat around and watched this for 3 or 4 years until it was convenient to create a headline and bring a criminal case. But they knew in March 2015 because they told me they knew she was an agent of influence for Russia. Doesn't make a lot of sense that they let this go on for 4 years.
No, and I love the fact that a couple of news outlets use the old saw. You know, that's what the FBI does. They just simply, watch the trail build and follow it through. It's preposterous.
I remember interviewing Bob Mueller shortly after 9/11 when he was the new FBI director. It was a couple of years after, and he said he was going to change the culture of the FBI for counterintelligence and counterterrorism. It wasn't to prosecute; it was to prevent. They weren't preventing anything here. They knew about Manafort in 2014. They wait to indict him or investigate him after he's President Trump's chairman. There's a lot of weird sitting on their hands until opportune times that I don't understand as a reporter.
Well, I think I think certainly thanks in large measure to your reporting. We understand how politically motivated the leadership, much of the leadership, if not all of the leadership of the FBI and the Department of Justice has been. Right. We know that it has become a bureaucracy, not a crime-fighting organization. I mean, it's very hard to find the FBI's contribution to crime fighting in this country, let alone counter-espionage and counterintelligence. It's a disturbing institution in that it has become something unrecognizable to most Americans.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of frustration, and Chris Wray has a big job on his hand to restore that public trust that's been eroded. I think the fact that people like Stroke and Page and the deputy director McCabe are now gone gives them a chance to start to get back on track. Listen, they lost their way before 9/11. We learned that. Right. They got back onto stopping a lot of terror plots after that. I have great hope that the FBI will get back on track for sure.
Yeah, but we really should have an institution so well led that it wouldn't have to do course corrections every decade.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
That's a bit much.
Well, just a day before the summit in Finland between President Trump and Vladimir Putin, the FBI arrested a woman called Maria Butina. She's a Russian citizen. She was a pro-gun activist. According to the government, she illegally worked to promote Russian interests in the United States. She's in jail. The government is trying to deny her bail. What did she do exactly? It's not clear from some of the stories. Byron New York writes for the Washington Examiner. He's been covering this one. He's an unusually crisp explainer of the facts, and so we asked him to tell. So I read this carefully. I'm not defending her. I have no idea if she's a good person or not. But from what I could tell, she didn't steal anything. I couldn't even understand what her agenda was from the news stories, the Washington Post made it sound like she was trying to bring the U.S. and Russia closer together, and now she's in jail. What is her crime?
This is a really mysterious case, very difficult to describe given what we know right now. But it appears that she was in touch with Russian intelligence agents. She was some sort of agent of Russia. She comes over here and appears to want to really insinuate herself into political organizations like the NRA, seeming to concentrate on conservative political organizations. She had kind of a shtick. She said that she wanted to start a pro-gun, kind of a NRA-like organization in Russia, as if you could have one of those. But a lot of American conservatives, some who met her, thought that was really cool. Oh, she's going to do this in Russia. That's great. She, according to the court papers, she had a close live-in relationship with a man who was very connected in the NRA, former Politico out of South Dakota. The government says pretty clearly that she was doing that as part of her work. But
is that the government's business, her sex life?
The question here is what she was doing. What was the point of this? And
well, what's the crime? I mean, I don't know. Before the
she's actually charged. What's interesting here is she's charged with representing a foreign country without registering, which has become kind of a hot crime.
Really? So just a quick, off the top of your head calculation, having lived in Washington for decades, how many people in this city are lobbying for foreign governments not registered under FARA?
A huge number.
A huge number. Like not hundreds, like thousands.
Although a smaller number now in the post-manifesto.
Good. I mean, look, I'm against lobbying for foreign governments, but I just think this is a weird story.
No, this is a weird story, and I have had people say to me, look, if the FBI had evidence that she was in touch with her Russian handlers handling over the nuclear codes, I mean, she would not have been charged with this foreign registration
with this BS charge. She would have a real charge.
This is not serious like that, and cases like this do sometimes end with the United States deporting the person and they can't come.
Look, if she did something wrong, charge her with it.
Yeah,
I think. Anyway, thank you so much, Byron.